Canto 9, Chapter 6, The Downfall of Saubhari Muni. We can resume from where we left off last week. Let us begin with Mangalacharana. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namasreshtam Manumapi Sachi Putramatra Swarupam Rupam Tasya Grajamurupuri माथुरीं घोष्टवातीं राधाकुण्डं गिरिवरमहो राधिका माधवासां प्राप्तो यस्य प्रतितकृपया श्रीगुरुं तं नतोऽस्मि कृष्णादन्यमजानतक्षणमपि स्वप्नेऽपि विश्वेश्वरे तस्मिन् भक्तिमहैतुकीं विदधतो हृत्काय वाग्भि सदा श्रीलान् सद्गुणपुञ्जकेलिनिलयान् प्रेमावतारानहम् वन्दे भागवतानि माननुलभम् मूर्ध्नानि पत्यक्षितौ आजानुलम्बितभुजौ कनकावदातौ सङ्कीर्तनैकपितरौ कमलायताक्षौ विश्वम्भरौ द्विजभरौ युगधर्मपालौ वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरौ करुणावतारौ जयतां सुरतौ पङ्गोर्मम मन्दमतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदाम्भोजौ राधामदनमोहनौ नीलाचलनिवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्रसुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः पादौ यदीयौ प्रथमा द्वितीयौ तृतीयतुर्यौ कथितौ यदूरु नाभिस्तदा पञ्चम एव षष्ठो भुजान्तरं दोर्युगलं तथन्यो कण्ठस्तु राजन्नवमो यदीयो मुखारविन्दं दशमं प्रफुल्लम् एकादशो यस्य ललाटपत्रं शिरोऽपि द्वादश एव पाटी तमादिदेवं करुणानिधानं तमालवर्णं सुहितावतारम् अपार संसार समुद्र सेतुं भजामहे भागवत स्वरूपम् भजामहे भागवत स्वरूपम् ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंकुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणाम्। Hare Krishna. So let us resume from where we started, from where we stopped last week. Sorry, 2 days before. We have been discussing about Mandata and Saubhari Muni. So we had discussed up until this verse. Who was Mandata? He was the son of Yuvanashva. So Mandata had 50 daughters, okay, and all of whom accepted Saubhari Muni as their husband. So we had seen when Saubhari Muni was engaged in austerity deep in the water of river Yamuna, he saw a pair of fish engaged in sexual affairs. Therefore, he perceived the pleasure of sex life, and induced by this desire, he went to King Mandhata and begged for one of the king's daughters. In response to this request, the king said, "O Brahmana, any of my daughters may accept any husband according to her personal selection." So this is the beginning of story of Saubhari Muni. So according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Mandhata was the king of Mathura, and Saubhari Muni was engaged in austerity while submerged deep within the water. And when he saw the fish uniting, he also felt agitated by sexual desire, and therefore he came out of the water. He stopped his austerities and he went to King Mandhata to ask that one of the king's daughters become his wife. सविचिन्त्या प्रियं स्त्रीणां जरतोऽहम् असन्मतः वलीपलित एजत्का इत्यहं प्रत्युदाहृता साधयिष्ये तथात्मानं सुरस्त्रीणाम् अभीप्सितं किं पुनर्मनुजेन्द्राणाम् इति व्यवसितः प्रभो. So Saubhari Muni thought, I am now feeble because of old age. My hair has become grey. My skin is slack. After the king said that one of my daughters can choose their husband. So Saubhari Muni thought immediately, I am now feeble because of old age. My hair has become grey. My skin is slack. And my head always trembles. Besides, I am a yogi. Therefore, women do not like me. Since the king has thus rejected me, I shall reform my body in such a way as to be desirable even to celestial women, what to speak of the daughters of worldly kings. So, we see that actually Saubhari Muni was very old. Still, that desire to enjoy sex life has not gone. So, this is the nature of desire for material enjoyment. One may not be having the ability to enjoy, but the desire to enjoy will still be there. So although he is a very old man, still he has been agitated by sexual desire. So we have to be very careful and mindful. This sex desire is not something which is going to leave any of us just like that. One has to be very, very sincere in devotional service and very sincere in following the regulative principles. Otherwise, one is going to be tormented by this sex desire. There is a story of Akbar and Birbal. Srila Prabhupada quotes this story. So, once Akbar, he asked something to Birbal. I don't remember what is the exact question, but then Birbal takes Akbar to one place where an old man is almost on his deathbed, and Birbal, he asks Akbar to bring his young daughter in presence of that old man. The old man is practically incapable of opening his eyes. He cannot see what is happening around him. He's too weak. He's almost on the verge of his death. He's disabled. But when he hears the ring of the anklets of this young, beautiful girl, Immediately he turns his head, he opens his eyes wide. So this is the nature of attraction to the opposite sex. One must not think that I have become old now, so therefore I do not have this desire. When one becomes old, the capacity to enjoy that desire reduces. Hmm? But the desire itself does not go away. The only way to actually conquer this desire is to practice pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord by strictly following the regulative principles under the guidance of a spiritual master in the association of devotees. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult to overcome. And in fact, this is the cause of bondage in this material world. Muni praveshita ksatra कन्यातपुरमृद्धिमात् वृत्तसराजकन्याभिर् ekam panchasatapara. Thereafter, when Saubhari Muni became quite a young and beautiful person, so by the dint of his austerity, he regained his youth. The messenger of the palace took him inside the residential quarters of the princess, which were extremely opulent. All 50 princes then accepted him as their husband, although he was only one man. So therefore, he could actually regain his youth. He could regain his youth once because of his austerities, because of the dint of his austerities, he could regain his youth. And then all the 50 princesses of King Mandhata, they were ready to accept him as their husband. Tasam kalirabhut bhuyams tadarthe pohya sauhridam mamanurupo nayam va iti tadgata chetasham. Thereafter, the princesses, being attracted by Saubhari Muni, gave up their sisterly relationship and quarreled among themselves, each one of them contending, "This man is just suitable for me and not for you." In this way, there ensued a great disagreement. Previously, it looks like no one was ready to marry him. But after he regained his youth, he became a very beautiful young man. Then all the princesses agreed to marry him. And in fact, all of them who were sisters, they began quarreling amongst themselves. Sabahvrajastabhiraparaniya tapas shriyanarkya parichatteshu गृहेषु नानो पवनामलाम्बा सरासु सौगन्धिककाननेषु महार्ह शय्यासनवस्त्रभूषणा स्नानानुलेपाप्यवहारमाल्यकै स्वलङ्कृतस्त्रीपुरुषेषु नित्यदा रेमेनुगायद्विजभृङ्गवन्दिषु. So, because Saubhari Muni was expert in chanting mantras perfectly, his severe austerities resulted in an opulent home with garments, ornaments, properly dressed and decorated maidservants and manservants, and varieties of parks with clear water lakes and gardens. In the gardens, fragrant with various varieties of flowers, birds chirped and bees hummed. Surrounded by professional singers, Saubhari Muni's home was amply provided with valuable beds, seats, ornaments, and arrangements for bathing. And there were varieties of sandalwood creams, flower garlands, and palatable dishes. Thus, surrounded by opulent paraphernalia, the Muni engaged in family affairs with his numerous wives. So, he gained all these opulences by chanting the mantras perfectly, and he could do so because of his austerities. And he chanted mantras and he achieved lot of material opulence, a very good home, many wives, so much of material enjoyment. We cannot even imagine this material enjoyment. So we can understand that yogic perfection, it makes available 8 material opulences. Anima, Laghima, Mahima, Prapti, Prakamya, Ishitva, Pashitva, and Kama Vasayita. So now Saubhari Muni exhibited super excellence in material enjoyment by the dint of his yogic perfection. Of course, he gained the perfection of yoga. I mean, he became more or less a very perfected person through his austerities, and due to which his chanting of mantras was very effective. And because of his austerities, because of his piety, because of his power, although he fell down from his position, still because of his power, he fell down from his position and wanted to get married. But still, he could achieve all the material opulence by simply chanting the mantras. Generally, in order to achieve material opulence, one has to struggle, one has to work very hard. But we can see here that such material opulence can also be achieved by subtle means through mantras. By chanting mantras, Saubhari Muni actually arranged for material opulence. By the dint of all his piety, austerity, power, ultimately he used all these things just to gain material opulence. However, this is not the perfection in life. Then what is the perfection in life? Perfection in life is to become a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. To be engaged in pure devotional service is the perfection of life. So it will be seen, although he achieved all these material opulences, it is not a small material opulence. 50 wives of 50 daughters of the king of the whole world as his wives. Such an opulent household, so much of opulence. Still, you see, he became very dissatisfied with material opulence, and thus he left everything and re-entered the forest in the Vanaprastha order and achieved final success. A very important point to understand, a very important principle to understand is that the happiness which is derived due to material opulence, the happiness which is derived because of sense gratification, because of material opulence, it is very, very short-lived. Because it has a beginning and it has an end. Here, in fact, he was going on enjoying, but it just didn't give him satisfaction of heart. Yehi samparshija bhoga dukkayonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Yehi samparshija bhoga dukkayonaya evate. Krishna says that happiness which is achieved by the contact of senses and the sense objects. What is the nature of such happiness? The nature of happiness which is achieved by the contact of senses and sense objects is temporary, because it has a beginning. Adyantavanta kaunteya. It has a beginning and it has an end. That is not the constitutional position of the soul. That is why whatever material opulence one may have, if he is not able to use that material opulence in serving the Supreme Lord, by becoming a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, or by endeavoring to become a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, he just does not get any happiness despite so much of material opulence. One may have a lot of money, one may have an opportunity to go abroad, one may have so many things in life, so many things which can give satisfaction to the body. But why it doesn't give happiness? Why it doesn't give satisfaction? Because we are not the body. We are the spirit soul. And the soul, real happiness can be obtained only when the soul is satisfied. And when is the soul satisfied? The soul is satisfied when it engages in service of the super soul. The soul is satisfied when the soul engages in service of the Supreme Lord. Just like if you want a tree to be nourished well or a plant to be nourished well, one has to pour water at the root. By pouring water at the root, automatically all the leaves and all the branches of the tree are nourished. You don't need to pour water separately at every leaf and every branch. Similarly, when we eat food, if we put the food in the mouth and we chew it nicely and we take the food inside, then automatically all parts of the body get nourished. And if we do not put the food in the mouth, then whatever we may do, we are not happy. Another example Srila Prabhupada gives, the parrot in the cage. Okay, one man bought a parrot, and he kept it in a golden cage, and very nicely he was wiping the cage every day. He was making the golden cage shine every day. He was cleaning the cage every day. Everything he was doing, except that he did not feed the parrot. He bought a golden cage. He did everything to the cage, but he forgot to feed the parrot. So ultimately the parrot died. Similarly, devotional service to the Supreme Lord is like that. Rendering devotional service to the Supreme Lord, beginning with Shravanam and Kirtanam, under the guidance of a spiritual master, following the regulative principles of devotional service, hearing the glories of the Lord, chanting the glories of the Lord, chanting the holy names. So all these, engaging in devotional service, all these activities are compared to watering the root of the tree. When we serve the Lord, automatically we become happy. When we forget to serve the Lord, that is the root cause of our dissatisfaction. So in the modern world, we see everybody, there is hardly anyone who knows the science. Manushya nam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschid mam veti tattvataha. So therefore, people are dissatisfied. They just get that, generally drunkards use one term, kick. When they take alcohol, they get some kick. For some time, they get some, so-called pleasure for some time. But immediately, that goes down also. So those who are not engaged in serving the Supreme Lord, those who are just behind material opulences, those who are just behind, the pleasures of this body, without understanding one's constitutional position, their position is like that. They may look happy, but actually they are very dissatisfied. And what is the nature of material enjoyment? If you try to satisfy your material desires through material means, it is just like pouring water. It's just like pouring fuel in a burning fire. We may think that I have some material desire, I want to earn money, so therefore I will work hard. So I want to do something, I want to achieve something material, therefore I will work hard. Working hard is not a mistake, but one has to understand what is one's constitutional position. One has to work in the correct consciousness. Without working in the correct consciousness, if one works just to satisfy that material desire, it is like pouring ghee or pouring fuel into a already burning fire. We think that if I achieve this, I will be happy, but it never happens so. It just keeps burning, 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 burning. So therefore, those who are not Atma Tattvavid, who do not know the spiritual value of life, they are satisfied with external material opulences. They are satisfied means, in fact, in one sense, they are also not satisfied. It looks like it looks that they are satisfied, but they do not have sufficient faith to take to the process of devotional service. But it looks that they are satisfied with external material opulences because they do not know the spiritual value of life. They do not know that at any point of time, all of one's possessions can be taken. Ma kuru dhana jana yavvana garvam harati nimesha kala sarvam. So therefore, they do not know what is the soul. So therefore, they are very much satisfied with external opulences. But those who are Atma Tattvavid, those who are spiritualists, they are not inspired by material opulence. In fact, if we see Saubhari Muni, he was a yogi. He was a spiritually advanced person. Of course, he did not achieve the highest stage of perfection because he fell down. But still, he was more or less spiritually advanced. So therefore, Saubhari Muni was not satisfied. Yadgar hastyam tu samvikshya saptadvipavati pati vishmitastamba majahat sarvabhauma shriyanvitam. Mandhata, the king of the entire world, consisting of 7 islands, was struck with wonder when he saw the household opulence of Saubhari Muni. Thus he gave up his false prestige in his position as the emperor of the world. Evam griheshvabhirato vishayan vividai sukhai sevamano chatusyad ajyastokair ivanalaha. In this way, Saubhari Muni enjoyed sense gratification in the material world, but he was not at all satisfied. Just as the fire never ceases blazing if constantly supplied with drops of fat. So Saubhari Muni, he got a desire to enjoy sexual life. So therefore, he left his austerities and he went to the king. He wanted to get married. And finally, he regained his youth by chanting the mantras because of his, yogic power. And he enjoyed all the material opulences. All the 50 daughters he asked for only one daughter. But when he regained his youth, all the 50 daughters of the king agreed to marry Saubhari Muni. And he enjoyed great opulence. Very nice house. So many riches. Palatable foods. But still he was not satisfied. That is mentioned here. Just as a fire never ceases blazing if constantly supplied with drops of fat. So if the fire is burning, he had a sex desire, and now it got fulfilled much beyond his imagination. He only wanted one wife. He got 50 wives. He got such an opulent household, so many material comforts and facilities. But still, he understood that he is actually not satisfied. Because a fire, when it is burning and you put drops of fuel in the fire only increases. So therefore his material desire was there. And therefore he went and he wanted to fulfill those material desires. But in the course of fulfilling his material desires, he was actually experiencing that his material desires were only increasing and he is actually not feeling satisfaction of the heart. So what is the nature of material desire? Material desire is just like blazing fire. If a fire is continuously supplied with drops of fat or drops of fuel, the fire will increase more and more and the fire will never be extinguished. Therefore, the policy of trying to satisfy the material desires by catering to one's material demands will never be successful. Prahlad Maharaj also says that one has to tolerate this desire. This desire is there because we have the body. We have rebelled against the Supreme Lord. So therefore, we are put into this material existence. When we are put into this material existence, we are under the influence of modes and we get this body. And when we have the body will have many material demands because the soul misidentifies itself to some extent or the other with the body. But trying to satisfy material desires by fulfilling them will never be successful because material desires will only increase. Just like a fire is already burning. If you think that by putting fuel, the fire will stop burning, it will never happen. In fact, the fire will only increase. So therefore, trying to satisfy material desires by catering to one's material demands will never be successful. And if you see in the modern civilization, everyone is engaged in such economic development, which is another way of constantly dropping fat into the material fire. And if you see, the Western countries, basically Srila Prabhupada writes, have reached the summit of material civilization, but people are still dissatisfied. Then what is real satisfaction? We have seen about dissatisfaction. Real satisfaction is, we have seen pouring the water at the root of the tree, or putting the food in one's mouth and chewing the food nicely. So pouring the water at the root of the tree, in order to know that one has to pour water at the root of the tree, first of all, one has to know that the tree has a root, right? If a person doesn't know what is the root of the tree, where is the root? What is the root? Where is the root? Then how will he pour water? That is the problem. People do not know the science of God. People are not conversant with the science of God. It is never taught anywhere. It is not taught in the modern schools. It is not taught in universities. It is not taught anywhere. So even after they become very, very old also, people do not know who they are. Who is God? God is the root of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattas sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. So what is real satisfaction? Real satisfaction is to understand who is the truth and to acknowledge and to serve that person. What is real satisfaction? Of course, there are many verses, but one such verse is real satisfaction is Krishna consciousness. To understand the root of the tree and to pour water at the root. To understand that Krishna is the supreme proprietor. He is the supreme enjoyer. And he is the supreme well-wishing friend of every living entity. To understand this fact through the pages of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. And then to conduct oneself in one's own constitutional position. To begin conducting oneself. One cannot conduct oneself completely because we are still conditioned. We have this material body. But when we start putting endeavors to conduct ourselves in our constitutional position as a servant of the Supreme Lord, then although we may not achieve perfection, but still we get a lot of satisfaction. Satisfaction beyond words, because this is the satisfaction of the soul. When we are engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord, under the guidance of the spiritual master, by following the regulative principles of devotional service, it gives us a lot of joy. Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Pavitram Vidamuttamam, Pratyaksha Dharmyam, Susukham Kartumapyayam. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. This bhakti is a very joyful process. So, because unless it is giving us a lot of joy, how are we able to do it consistently? All of us are practicing at some level, but whatever level we are in, we are always inspired to move ahead. So that is because of the reciprocation given by the Supreme Lord from within. So real satisfaction is to understand that Krishna is the supreme proprietor, he is the supreme enjoyer, and he is the well-wishing friend of every living entity. Bhoktaram yakyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam yatma mam shanti vrichyati. Therefore, one must take to Krishna consciousness and advance in Krishna consciousness. Then one can attain an eternal blissful life in peace and knowledge, not by material opulences. Material opulences will come and go as per our karma. Whatever we are destined to get, definitely we will get. Prahlad Maharaj says, he says in one of the verses in his prayers to Narsinghadev, he says to his friends, we do not endeavor for misery, but misery still comes. But similarly, why do you want to endeavor for happiness? It will anyway come. So instead of that, let us all endeavor to please the Supreme Lord. Because happiness and misery is anyway going to come. Material happiness, and material misery is anyway going to come. That quota of ours is there. That is called karma. That is going to come as per our karma. So why do we want to endeavor for this happiness, which is anyway going to come even if you do not endeavor? Then what should be our effort? Our effort should be to endeavor to act in our constitutional position. Our effort should be to endeavor to render devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Sakadachit upasina atma navamatmanaha tadarshabhavrachacharyo Meena Sangasamuttitam. Thereafter, one day, while Saubhari Muni, who was expert in chanting mantras, was sitting in a secluded place, he thought to himself about the cause of his fall down. He's a very introspective man, you see, because he was actually practicing spirituality. He was engaged in spiritual practices for a long time. So he was just sitting in a secluded place and introspecting. He thought, what is the cause of my dissatisfaction? Then he thought to himself about the cause of his fall down. And it was because he simply associated himself with sexual affairs of the fish. That was the cause of his fall down. So he could understand. He introspected and he actually understood that this was the cause of my fall down. And why did Saubhari Muni fall from his position? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, it was because he fell down from his austerity because of a Vaishnava Aparadh. So what is the history? Once when Garuda wanted to eat fish, Saubhari Muni unnecessarily gave fish shelter under his care. Now, fish is Garuda's food, and Garuda is the most exalted devotee of the Supreme Lord. And because Garuda's plans for eating were disappointed, Saubhari Muni certainly committed a great offense to a Vaishnava. So that was the cause of his fall down. Because of this Vaishnava Parad, an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, Saubhari Muni fell from his exalted position of a mystic tapasya. So this is very grave. When you commit an offense to a Vaishnava, one has to be very, very mindful. One actually loses one's pious credits. In fact, it is not lost. It is just, you just lose the access to it. We discussed an example day before yesterday. Whatever devotional service we do, those credits are eternal. As Lord promises in Bhagavad Gita, Neha Vikramana Sosti Pratyavayona Vidyate Swalpamapyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayat. As Lord promises in Bhagavad Gita, it is eternal. But what happens when you offend? You just lose the access to that devotional credit. That's all. You lose the access to the devotional credit. It is like you having a lot of cash in a locker, but you forgot where is the key. Unless you have the key, you cannot open the locker. So it is just like that. But when one becomes regretful and becomes sincere, then again he will find the key to access it. So therefore, one should not impede the activities of a Vaishnava. Saubhari Muni should not have impeded Garuda from eating the fish, because Garuda is an exalted Vaishnava and fish is his natural food. So there, because he impeded the activities of Garuda, because he stopped Garuda from eating the fish, therefore he fell down from his position. Aho imam pashyata me vinasham, aho imam pashyata me vinasham, tapasvina satcharita vritasya, antarjale varichara prasangat, prachyavitam brahmachiram dhritam yat. Alas, while practicing austerity, even within the depths of water, and while observing all the rules and regulations practiced by saintly persons, I lost the results of my long austerities simply by association with the sexual affairs of fish. Everyone should observe this fall down and learn from it. This was what he was repenting. A very genuine repentance. Where was he practicing austerity? He was not practicing austerity in a city where there are so many distractions. He was practicing austerity within the depths of water, and he was observing all the rules and regulations. But still, he lost the results of his long austerity simply because he associated with the sexual affairs of fish. So everyone should observe this fall down and learn from it. That is what he was saying. And one very important lesson we learn here is we should always put ourselves in the association of devotees. It's very, very important. Particularly, we should put ourselves in the association of devotees who can twist our ear, who can correct us if we are becoming little deviant. We have to put ourselves in association of devotees. It is not a one-man show. Today I may be in a problem. Tomorrow another devotee may be in a problem. So when I am in a problem, when I am not following Krishna consciousness properly, when I am unnecessarily getting distracted from my Krishna conscious duties, then there must be someone in my life who tells me that what you are doing is not correct, Prabhu. Similarly, that person also may require help sometime. It may be a friend, it may be anybody, but we all should have one person who very lovingly twists our ear, pulls our ear, and chastises us. Prabhu, what you are doing is not correct. Please. So that is very, very important. So you may say, I don't have any such person. If you do not have any such person, please look for such a person in your lives. Because Krishna consciousness is not something which we can do alone at home. Otherwise, what happens is, slowly this practice will become a ritual. And once it becomes a ritual, it becomes burdensome. Without having relationship with Vaishnavas, without having relationship with the Guru, without having proper relationships and accountability with a Vaishnava who can actually correct us when we are going wrong. Krishna consciousness just becomes another ritual, and it becomes burdensome after some time. And after some time, we will even leave it. It becomes burdensome if we are not guided. So guided effort is important here. Effort is correct, but it should be guided. It should be guided. So, Saubhari Muni, so better to practice in city, but better to be surrounded by devotees. Saubhari Muni went very far. He went deep into the water, thinking that he would not have distraction. But then there is distraction there also, because the distraction is not from outside, the distraction is from inside. The desire is not completely gone. So therefore, the association of devotees is so extremely important. Srila Prabhupada says, anyone who thinks that he can practice devotional service without the association of devotees is insane. Srila Prabhupada makes this statement. So therefore, association of devotees, particularly association of those personalities or devotees who can twist our ear, who can give us a slap when we are doing something which we are not supposed to do. That is so important. Here, Saubhari Muni did not have anyone. If he had had someone to whom he had revealed his heart, then probably he would have got good advice. No, he was agitated. He didn't have association, and therefore he made up his mind. But the glorious part of it is that he is actually regretting. He is regretting. That is why this pastime is there in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, Sangam tyajeta mituna vratina mumukshu sarvatmanana visrijed bahirindriyani ekascharan rahasi chittamananta ishe yunjita tat pratishu sadushu chet prasanga. A person desiring liberation from material bondage, Saubhari Muni is saying this. A person desiring liberation from material bondage must give up the association of persons interested in sex life, and he should not employ his senses in externally. One should always stay in a secluded place, completely fixing his mind at the lotus feet of the unlimited personality of Godhead. And if one wants any association at all, he should associate with persons similarly engaged. So that is what Saubhari Muni is also saying. If at all one wants any association, it should be only with those persons who are similarly engaged. Sajati association, Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Like-minded association is important. We need association of peers. We need association of friends. When we have some friends who are also, we have good relation with some devotees who are like friends to us. So they don't even say anything, but still we feel very responsible to practice Krishna consciousness in their association. Similarly, we should have someone who is little more experienced than us when we are practicing Krishna consciousness, so that if you are deviating from some, if you are deviating from path, they come and immediately give the correction. If one is not attending Mangalarti, there should be someone to pull your ear and ask you. So first they will ask you. If they feel that you are becoming careless, they will twist your ear slowly. That is very important. Otherwise, how can we know whether we are progressing in the right direction or not? We may be sincere, but Maya is very, very strong. We may be sincere, definitely, but Maya is also very strong. One should understand that Maya is not very easy to overcome. Why it is not easy to overcome? Because that Maya is actually Daivihesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. It is empowered by the Supreme Lord to actually put living entities into illusion. Daivihesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mamevaye Prapadyante Maya Maitatyanante. So therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, how to overcome this Maya? Mamevaye Prapadyante Maya Maitatyanante. By taking my shelter, by taking the shelter of spiritual master, by taking shelter of those people, those personalities representing the spiritual master, by cultivating proper relationship with them, by being accountable to them, by serving with them, by associating with them, by serving with them, by practicing Krishna consciousness in their association, by being willing to be corrected by them, by willing to, one must be willing to take some feedback from them. One may be very sincere in practicing, one may be very disciplined, but one should also know that Maya is very strong. One should not take Maya very lightly. Maya is very, very powerful. So therefore, one should always be in association. So what are the lessons from Saubhari Muni's experience? Persons interested in crossing the other side of material ocean must give up the association of persons interested in sex life and accumulating money. We should be very, very careful here. Those we should strictly avoid, whoever they may be. If that person is not taking to devotional service, he is bound to either accumulate money. See, these two things are interconnected, accumulating money and being interested in sex life. See, being interested in sex life does not mean only being interested in the gross act. No, being interested in sex life means being interested to increase, his material opulence. Being interested to unreasonably increase his material standard of living without any faith in Krishna consciousness, without ever taking to practice of Krishna consciousness. Why should we associate with such a person? Associating with such a person, see, on one side we may be practicing Krishna consciousness. We may be very disciplined. We may be waking up early in the morning. We may be chanting our rounds. But if we are not engaged in devotional service, see, three things are important. Engagement, like Ambarish Maharaj. But there must be engagement for all of us, especially for those of us who have been practicing this process for a long time. There must be some engagement. There must be some engagement. Means what should that engagement be? It should be guided by the spiritual master. It is not that we should go and take an endorsement from the spiritual master that this is what I want to be engaged in. No, one must present himself as a blank slate towards the spiritual master and ask him, please, I want to render some service. I want to render some service to this mission. Please engage me. I want to render some selfless service to this mission. Please engage me as per my propensity. One must present himself like that. Not that, Prabhu, I feel this is my engagement now. So therefore, I want to be engaged like this. That is not the way to, that is not what is called as prescribed engagement. One should go and one should ask for engagement. How can I engage myself in Srila Prabhupada's mission? And for what purpose? Not that we need so many people to do many services. Of course, there are many missionary activities, but who is the main beneficiary? Not the institution. The main beneficiary is our own self. So one must look for engagement. And that engagement must be guided by spiritual master. And that engagement must be performed in association of devotees. These three things are very important. Engagement is important. That engagement should be done under guidance of the spiritual master. Not that we go and endorse, get something endorsed by him. No. And third thing is that it should be done in association of devotees so that we get necessary correction. If we do not do this, and if we are simply practicing devotional service, then that practice becomes ritualistic. It becomes burdensome after some time. That means what happens, although we are practicing, our absorption is not there. Our absorption is somewhere else. And that happens, the absorption is somewhere else, because if we feel that we are doing devotional service, we are practicing devotional service, but we do not have sufficient absorption in Krishna. That means we should see whether we are properly engaged. If I am practicing devotional service, but somehow my absorption is in so many other things other than the Supreme Lord and other than serving the Supreme Lord and his devotees and the spiritual master, that means I have to introspect myself. Maybe I am not sufficiently engaged and we should take help to be sufficiently engaged. Or maybe I am not associating with the right persons. Maybe I'm not associating. If you do not associate with the right person, your absorption will change. You may be doing some activities. Those activities will become more or less ritual. You may be doing some activities. That's good. That's much better than not doing anything. But if you do not, what is the purpose of doing all those activities? The purpose is that one must be absorbed. And that absorption does not come if we do not have proper association. It is not that I chant my 16 rounds in the morning and whole day I associate with somebody who is just interested in accumulating money. It doesn't work that way. So there is a verse in Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nata. Nishkinchinasya bhagavad vajanonmukasya param param jikamishor bhavasagarasya sandarshanam vishayinam atayo shitam cha hanta hanta vishabha shanatopyasadau. Alas, for a person seriously desiring to cross the material ocean and engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without material motives, seeing a materialist engaged in sense gratification and seeing a woman who is similarly interested is more abominable than drinking poison willingly. For a person who really wants to cross the ocean of material existence and engage in devotional service without any material motives, seeing a materialist engaged in sense gratification and seeing a woman, that means if you are associated with a person who is engaged in sense gratification, who is simply interested in only accumulating money, that is more abominable than drinking poison. Ekastapasya matam bhasimatsya sangat panchasadasa muta panchasahasra sargaha nantam vrajam yubhaya kritya manorathanam maya gunay dhritamati vishate vishayertha bhava. In the beginning, I was alone and engaged in performing the austerities of mystic yoga. But later, because of the association of fish engaged in sex, I decided to marry. Then I became the husband of 50 wives. And in each of them, I begot 100 sons. and thus my family increased to 5,000 members. Hmm? By the influence of the modes of material nature, I became fallen, and I thought that I would be happy in material life. Thus, there is no end to my material desires for enjoyment in this life and next. Sri Narottam Das Thakur sings a very famous song. Samsara Bishanale Dibanishi Ajwale Juraite na koi no upay. The fire of material existence is just blazing. There is no other upay. There is no other means to extinguish this fire other than devotional service. Evam vasan grihe kalam virakto nyasamastita vanam jagamanuyayus tatpatnya pati devata. In this way, he passed his life in household affairs for some time, but then he became detached from material enjoyment. To renounce material association, he accepted the Vanaprastha order and went to the forest. His devoted wives followed him, for they had no shelter other than their husband. In fact, all his wives were also qualified. Saubhari Muni was also a very qualified man, but it is just that he became deviated for some time. But he understood the futility of material enjoyment. Similarly, Devahuti also, she says same thing to Kapila in the 3rd canto. She is the daughter of Swayambhu Manu. He is one of the 12 Mahajanas. And she is the wife of Kardama Muni. But she had some desire, so therefore Kardama Muni took her all around in the, aerial mansion. But after everything, she says to Kapila Dev that, this is just causing me more and more pain, this material enjoyment. So his wives were also very devoted. So they also followed him when he wanted to renounce material world. Tatra tattva tapastikshnam atma darshanam atmavan sahevagni piratmanam yuyoja paramatmani. When Saubhari Muni, who was quite conversant with the self, went to the forest, he performed severe penances. In this way, in the fire at the time of death, he ultimately engaged himself in the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So again he resumed his penances, and ultimately he engaged himself in service of Supreme Lord. Tasvapatyur Maharaja Nirikshadhyatmikim gatim Anviyustat Prabhavena Agnim Shantam Ivarchishaha. O Maharaj Parikshit, by observing their husband progressing in spiritual existence, Saubhari Muni's wives were also able to enter the spiritual world by his spiritual power, just as the flames of a fire cease when the fire is extinguished. So a very important principle to note is that all the wives of Saubhari Muni also got benefited. So generally, women are not considered very powerful in following spiritual principles. That means generally they are not very powerful in performing many austerities. But that is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Mamhi partha vyapashritya yepishu papa yonaya striyo vaishyas tatha shudras tepi yanti param gatim. But when they take to bhakti, anybody can take to the process of bhakti. Women are not considered very powerful because their bodies are more or less weak, both gross body as well as subtle body. But any of them can take to devotional service and attain the supreme destination. This is the beauty of bhakti. Now, how did this happen? If a woman is fortunate enough to get a suitable husband who is spiritually advanced, and if she always engages in his service, in the husband's service, she also gets the same benefit as her husband. So if a woman gets a husband who is spiritually very advanced, and she engages in his service. Engages in his service means what? She assists the husband in his service to Guru. If a woman gets a husband who is spiritually advanced, and if she is very faithful to the husband and she is assisting the husband in his service to the Guru, she also gets the same benefit as her husband. This is the beauty. Woman is called as Ardhangini. She is considered to be half the body of her husband. So the devotional credits are also shared. As such, women are not very powerful, but if they serve their husbands, if they assist their husbands very nicely, then both the husband and wife make tremendous spiritual advancement. So therefore, the wives of Saubhari Muni also entered the spiritual world by the influence of their husband. So therefore, the lesson is that a woman should be a faithful servant of her husband. And if the husband is spiritually advanced, if the husband is a very spiritually advanced person, and if the woman simply serves the husband very nicely, assists the husband in his devotional service, then woman will also automatically get the opportunity to enter the spiritual world. So therefore, we can close this section. We have come to the end of this section. I'm sorry, it's almost 10 minutes more. If there are any questions, we can take for 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, Prabhuji, like we were discussing, no, that like when I have a small doubt, that we were discussing that like Saubhara Munis fall down because of Vaishnava aparad, and like when we realize only, then again like we will have that access to the bhakti. So like will that Saubhara Muni will realize that like because of the offense which I had done to Garuda, that's why like I had fall down. That he realize, Prabhuji?
It is not mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, but probably he should have realized that also. See, it was not a very, what you can call, it's not a very grave offense or something, but still it was an offense only. Probably Saubhari Muni just wanted to give protection out of compassion to the fish. But still, Garuda became offended. Right? It was not as big as an offense as Durvasa Muni committed to Ambarish Maharaj. Right? He wanted to kill Ambarish Maharaj. Probably Saubhari Muni didn't want to do that. But probably the fish took his shelter. I do not know the details. It's mentioned somewhere, definitely. But definitely he would have got that realization also. It comes automatically.
Okay. Yeah, because like I thought like here it is not mentioned. That's why I got
it's not mentioned. Because it's not very serious, it's not mentioned. It was not as serious as other offenses, but definitely he should have got. Probably it is mentioned somewhere. I will verify and get back to you. But here it is not mentioned in Bhagavatam.
Okay.
But yes, as you said, a sincere person becomes introspective of both. He becomes introspective if he has actually committed offense to anybody else. He becomes introspective of that fact also. Are there any other questions?
So we have to be like a very like introspective always, like to see how we are dealing with and how we are like in dealings and how we are like going forward. Like
for all, yes, that introspection must be there, and for that we must seek the association of devotees. We should restrict these online classes only from Monday to Friday. Saturday and Sunday we should take out time to go and associate with any group of devotees, who are properly connected to the Guru Parampara, whom you are inspired by. We can use Monday to Friday to discuss principles, but Saturday and Sunday, we should take time to go and associate. See, unless we associate with devotees, we will not even know what is an offense, right? We will not know how to conduct ourselves with devotees who have been practicing devotional service. We would not know. Very soon, maybe in another 1.5 weeks or so, we will be starting Nectar of Instruction and Nectar of Devotion course. Rajendra Prabhu will be taking that from our congregation. So unless we associate with devotees, how would we know these things? These things will be only theoretical. We have to put them into practice. For us to put them into practice, we have to serve with devotees. And in order to serve with devotees, firstly, we must seek the association of devotees. It is not that we just hear the Bhagavatam class and yes, I have learned. It's only a part, one part of it. Jnana part of it. But what about the Vijnana part? The Vijnana
Practical
part, the
things.
realization part comes only when we engage in service, in association of devotees. Otherwise, we will not understand these things. So therefore, we should seek the association of devotees. You have to seek. You have to keep looking. See, if a person who wants to change a job, any of you are working here, working in some company here?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So, have you changed your job anytime? From one
Yeah, like
company to another?
yeah, yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
At least 1 or 2 times.
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji.
So, just imagine when you are not happy with your present job, how would you will always be on the lookout of another job, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
You will be putting in, Naukri.com or Monster.com, and you will always be, asking your friends, see is there any job available in your company, or all these things you will be doing, right? With so much eagerness when you feel that this is the time when I have to change the job. Yes or no?
Yes, Prabhuji. It's so true.
Similarly, in that way, we should seek for association. Is there any group of devotees serving here? I want to, shift my residence to that place. Otherwise, I want to make my schedule in such a way that at least on Saturdays or Sundays, I can go and I can spend some time with them. I can associate with them. I can hear from them. This eagerness we should have. How eager we are when we want a job change, when we are not happy with the salary which our job is offering for whatever reason. We are so eager, right?
Yeah.
To look for another job. So eager. Always that will be in the back of our mind, no?
It's true, Prabhuji.
We may be doing something, but always what will be at the back of our mind? Oh, this, somehow, they promised me promotion, they are not giving. You will not think so much about all those. Somehow I want to get a new job. So sometimes you acquire new skills, right? You do this course, this certification, that certification. Sometimes you may clear, sometimes you may not clear. But still your whole background, in the background, you may be doing many activities, but in the background, you always feel that you have to get that job or some other job which is better paying job. Similarly, you have to look for devotees. What service I can do? How can I be of any? How can I be useful to this mission? See, today we are sitting here and we are hearing very nicely. We are going to many temples. We have many classes. We have beautiful deities. We have very nice prasadam. We have very nice preaching going on throughout the world in all our centers. Srila Prabhupada has very kindly given all these things to us. But, there are so many devotees who have also been sacrificing so many things so that this movement can go forward. Yes or no?
Yes, Prabhuji.
If you take our community here at Rampalli, we have seen how Madhav Gopinath Prabhu and his wife, they are so selfless. How they have actually been, they have been so sacrificing always. They do not have anything like a personal life. Entire life is, how to serve the Supreme Lord. So there are so many people like this. How can I be of any assistance? It may not be like that, but at least we can be of some assistance to such personalities who have been dedicating their lives for. I'm giving one example. There are many examples like this. We have so many devotees, we have so many leaders, and all of them are sacrificing. They are sacrificing so much. So we should always look, how can I be of some assistance to this person? And why? Not because he requires assistance. Even if we are not going to be of any assistance, Krishna will give some assistance to him. But why not me? So that we will be benefited. So we should always be on the lookout like this, just like we are on the lookout for a job. Or, when a girl is not married, her parents keep on looking for a boy, right? Wherever they go, they will be discussing, they will be giving the profile, or if they go to any marriage, if they happen to speak to some people, they will say, please find a suitable match for my daughter also, or my son also, right? That will always be in the back of their mind. Similarly, you should look for devotee association.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
If there are no questions, Are there any other questions?
హరే కృష్ణ.
Hare Krishna.
ప్రభు నాకు ఒక డౌట్ ప్రభు. ఇందాక మీరు అన్నారు కదా స్పిరిచువల్ అంటే డివోటీ హస్బెండ్ అంటే భార్య ఓన్లీ ఫాలో అయితే సరిపోతుంది అని అన్నారు. మరి నాన్ డివోటీ హస్బెండ్ ఉంటే?
మంచి ప్రశ్న మాతాజీ. మాతాజీ మీరు రాంపల్లికి వచ్చేవారు కదా, మీరేనా? ఇద్దరు పాపలు మీకు, ఒక అబ్బాయి?
సారీ ప్రభు, నాకు పిల్లలు లేరు ప్రభు.
ఓ సారీ సారీ, మీరు కారా? నేను మీ అంటే మీ పేరు ఇక్కడ ఫుల్ రావట్లేదు. మీ పేరు మాతాజీ?
అనురాధ.
ఆవిడే ఏమో అనుకున్నాను, మీరు ఆవిడే ఏమో అనుకున్నాను. మంచి ప్రశ్న. ఒకవేళ భర్త సహకరించకపోతే అప్పుడు ఏం చేయాలి? అప్పుడు కూడా మనం భర్త పట్ల చాలా వినయంగా ఉండాలి. భర్తకి సేవలు ఖచ్చితంగా చేయాలి. ఎందుకంటే భర్త ఇలా ఉన్నారు, భర్త అలా ఉంటేనే చేస్తాను, భర్త ఇలా ఉంటేనే చేస్తాను అని కాదు. మనం ఒకసారి మనకు వివాహం అయ్యాక, మనకు ఒకసారి మనం భార్యాభర్తలం అయ్యాక ఖచ్చితంగా భార్య యొక్క ధర్మం వచ్చి భర్తకు సేవ చేయడం, భర్తకు సహకరించడం, భర్తతో చాలా వినయంగా చాలా మంచిగా ప్రవర్తించడమే. ఎందుకంటే ఇది మన ధర్మం మాతాజీ. ఇది ఆ విధంగా చేస్తే ఏమవుతుంది, జనరలీ హస్బెండ్స్ ఎలా ఉంటారంటే దే వాంట్ టు బి, అంటే వాళ్ళు భార్య కన్నా ఇంకా ఉన్నతంగా ఉండాలనుకుంటారు. మీరు వాళ్ళకి వెళ్ళి ఇలా మీరు ఫిలాసఫీ చెప్పడం కుదరదు. చెప్తే కూడా అది అంత ప్రభావం ఉండదు వాళ్ళ పైన. మనం వెళ్ళి సిద్ధాంతాన్ని తీసుకెళ్లి వాళ్ళ దగ్గర అప్పచెప్తే, ఇగో మీరు ఇలా చేస్తున్నారు, ఇలా చేయాలి, అలా చేస్తున్నారు, ఇలా చేయాలి, ఆ విధంగా మనం చెప్పామనుకోండి, దాని ప్రభావం ఉండదు. కానీ మీరు నిజంగానే ఒక మంచి భార్యగా ఉండగలిగారు అనుకోండి, మీ వినయంతో, మీ సేవతో ఆయన యొక్క హృదయంలో మార్పు ఖచ్చితంగా తేగలుగుతారు. నాకు చాలా మంది తెలుసు, అప్పుడప్పుడు హస్బెండ్స్ సహకరించరు, కానీ భార్యలు మాత్రము వాళ్ళ ధర్మంని ఎప్పుడు వదులుకోలేదు. భర్త పట్లన్నా, భర్త యొక్క ఇంటి వాళ్ళ పట్లన్నా, అత్తయ్య పట్లన్నా, మామయ్య పట్లన్నా కుదిరినంత వినయంగా సేవ భావనతో ఖచ్చితంగా ఉండాలి. అదేవిధంగా మన యొక్క నియమాలు మనము తగ్గకూడదు. మనం పాటించేటువంటి నియమాలని మనం తగ్గించుకోకూడదు. మన నియమాలు మనం ఒకవైపు పాటిస్తూ ఉండాలి, కానీ వాళ్ళకు అనుకూలంగా కూడా ఉండాలి. ఎందుకంటే ఈ విధంగా మీరు ప్రవర్తిస్తే ఆ ప్రభావం ఇంకా ఎక్కువ ఉంటుంది భర్త పైన, సిద్ధాంతంని డైరెక్ట్ గా చెప్పడం బదులు. అర్థమైందా మాతాజీ?
అర్థమైంది. కానీ అంటే మా హస్బెండ్ నాకు అన్ని డివోషనల్ లో ఇది చేయొద్దు, అది చేయొద్దు, స్టార్టింగ్ లో నాన్ వెజ్ తినమని బలవంతం చేసిన, కానీ నేను రియల్ గా ఆనెస్ట్ గా చెప్తున్నాను ప్రభు, ఒకసారి ట్రై చేశారు. అయితే నేను ఏమీ అనలేదు. ఒకసారి మా ఆయన నాన్ వెజ్ తినమని నన్ను బలవంతం పెట్టిండు ప్రభు. అయితే నేను కృష్ణకి లోపల ప్రేయర్ చేసేసుకొని తులసి మాల తీసేసి తినేసాను ప్రభు. తినేసి తిన్న తర్వాత ఎక్కడైతే తినేసి ఇంటికి వచ్చానో అప్పటికి ఒక 10 వామిటింగ్స్ అయినాయి. అప్పటి నుంచి మా వారు ఇప్పటి వరకు నాకు నాన్ వెజ్ తినమని బలవంతం పెట్టారు. నేను జస్ట్ ప్రేయర్ చేసుకున్నాను, నా తప్పు అయితే క్షమించండి కృష్ణ అని. ఇది జరిగి కనీసం 8 years అవుతుంది ప్రభు. అప్పటి నుంచి ఇప్పటి వరకు మాత్రం మా హస్బెండ్ ఏ రకంగా నన్ను నాన్ వెజ్ తినాలి బలవంతం చేయరు. కాకపోతే డివోషనల్ కూడా ఏది చేయరు. ఎక్కువ
అది ఎంత గొప్ప విషయం మాతాజీ కాదా? ఆయన మిమ్మల్ని బలవంతం చేయట్లేదు, నాన్ వెజ్ తీసుకోవడానికి బలవంతం చేయట్లేదు అనేటువంటి విషయం ఎంత గొప్ప విషయము, అవునా కదా?
అవును.
అప్పుడు అలాంటి సంఘటన జరిగింది కాబట్టి తర్వాత ఎప్పుడు ఆయన చేయట్లేదు అనేటువంటిదే ఒక గొప్ప విషయం కదా.
ఆ రోజు ఎందుకో నాకు ఎప్పుడు అసలు నేను తిననే దానిని ఆయన అట్లా అనగానే ప్రేయర్ చేసుకొని తిన్నాను ప్రభు. అది నాకు ఒక ప్లస్ పాయింట్ అయ్యింది.
జరిగింది ఏదో జరిగిపోయింది, కానీ తర్వాత ఆయన బలవంతం చేయలేదు కదా, అదే చాలా గొప్ప విషయం. అదే చాలా గొప్ప విషయం. జరిగిన దాని గురించి మనం ఏం చేయలేము, జరిగింది ఏదో జరిగిపోయింది కానీ తర్వాత ఆయన బలవంతం చేయలేదు అనేటువంటిది చాలా గొప్ప విషయము. అవును, అది ఎందుకు చేయలేదంటే ఖచ్చితంగా ఆయనకి ఎంతో కొంత ప్రభావం ఉంది. సో మీ బాధ్యత ఏముండాలంటే ఆయనకు చాలా అనుకూలంగా ఉండాలి. అదే విధంగా భక్తి నియమాలని పాటించడం మాత్రం మీ వైపు నుంచి మీరు ఏ విధమైనటువంటి లోటు చూపించొద్దు. మీ నియమాలు కానీ మీ సాధన కానీ మీ చదవడం కానీ ఖచ్చితంగా కొంచెం టైం తీసుకొని ఇవన్నీ కూడా చేస్తూ ఉండండి. ఒకవైపు ఇది చేస్తూ ఇంకోవైపు ఆయన పట్ల, ఆయన ఇంటి వాళ్ళ పట్ల, ఆయన తల్లిదండ్రుల పట్ల కానీ, ఆయన సహోదరుల పట్ల కానీ మీరు చాలా వినయంతో ఒక సేవ భావనతో నడుచుకున్నారనుకోండి, ఖచ్చితంగా మరింత ప్రభావం ఖచ్చితంగా వస్తుంది. అండ్ ఇంకొకటి, మీరు ఎవరైనా మాతాజీస్ మీకు తెలిసిన వాళ్ళు ఉంటే, ఆల్రెడీ ఈ యొక్క భక్తి మార్గాన్ని ఎవరైతే పాటిస్తున్నారో, మీకన్నా కొంచెం ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ఎక్కువ ఉన్న వాళ్ళు మీకు తెలిసిన వాళ్ళు అయితే వాళ్ళతో వెళ్ళి ఖచ్చితంగా మీరు వాళ్ళ యొక్క గైడెన్స్ తీసుకోవాలి మాతాజీ. అలాగే. హరే కృష్ణ.
థ్యాంక్ యూ.
హరే కృష్ణ. హరే కృష్ణ. గ్రంథరాజ్ శ్రీమద్ భాగవతం కి జై. శ్రీల ప్రభుపాద్ కి జై.